What's up, guys? In this episode, I'm going to be getting this rear subframe. I want to get it coated in some rust reformer, some encapsulator, whatever it's called. Basically something to help it stop rusting. I don't know if you guys watched the previous video on this build. I said I was gonna just leave all the suspension on it and just try to do my best to coat it as is. But after thinking about it, I looked up the bushings for this thing. The reason that I was going to do that is because I feel like if I start unscrewing these, all the bolts are going to be seized to the bushings, so that it's just going to destroy all the bushings. But I looked up the bushings. It's like 200 or whatever, 250 for a full set of polyurethane bushings for the whole rear end. So I think I'm just going to do that. I might end up having to find new bolts, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'm going to start kind of taking it apart. Hopefully I don't have to cut too much crap off, even though I feel like that's what's going to have to happen, because I already tried to take this one out and it's just seized. The bushing itself is seized to the bolt. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Alright guys, so I got all the major suspension parts off of the subframe. So there's most of it came off. Sway bar, control arm, spindles, obviously. But these, I believe these are the rear control arms. Those bolts are seized in the bushings on both sides. So I'm going to try to just turn the bolt, and I'm about 99% sure it's just going to rip the bushing, so then I'll have to just cut it off with a sawzall through here and through here, or maybe even just through the one side. Then I'll be able to wiggle this out, because that hole's kind of big over there. Since this is where the camber bolt goes, the hole's pretty big, so I might be able to just cut the one side and wiggle it out. But yeah, I'm gonna try to obviously try to see if I can break it loose from the bushing before I go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so I just got the subframe completely stripped down. Got it up on this table here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just hit it with some wire wheels. I'm going to hit it with some wire wheels, try to get it as cleaned up as possible. And then after I do that, clean it off with some denatured alcohol or something like that. And then we're gonna apply the Pour 15 rust paint on it. I did this same thing to my subframe on my Eclipse, and it's been holding up very well, so I think it'll be just fine for this too. But before I can actually install any control arms or anything like that, I gotta clean all this stuff up because it is basically in the same condition that the subframe was before I coated it and, well, wire wheeled it and coated it. So, as I mentioned before, when I went to go take apart the bushings and whatever when I was doing the subframe, a lot of the bushings are seized to the bolts, so that means when you start unscrewing, when you start turning that bolt, it turns with that inner part of the bushing, the metal, the sleeve for the bolt, and then it rips the bushing. So I went ahead and ordered all new polyurethane bushings for it. So we're gonna be replacing like this bushing here, these bushings, or this bushing here, this bushing here, the bushing inside of the spindle up top over here. So basically all the control arm bushings are going to be replaced. But what that means is that I'm going to have to take all these apart. The only thing I'm not going to pull off of the spindles is going to be the brakes, because there's essentially no need. And well, I might have to swap out the e-brake cable. I'm not sure. I know it's different on the GST than the GSX, which is why I was kind of hoping to be able to keep the GSX cables. So that might be, I might just put them in as is, and then if I need to swap them out, I'll swap them out. But it does look like, it looks like it probably corroded over here, so when you pull the cable, it just crushes this sleeve instead of actually pulling on the brake shoes inside the rotor. Right, so the only thing I'm not going to be taking apart, not taking off of the spindles, is going to be the axles, because the one side it looks like it's been replaced, so I'm not worried about that one. That one will come out. I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. But this one over here, that one is all corroded. So that one is super rusty, and I'm assuming that it's not going to actually be able to be pushed out of the spindle. If I was doing this before I did my car, I would be optimistic, and I'd say that, you know what, I'll unscrew the nut and I'll get it off. But when I did my car, I had both of them. Both of them were like seized up like this. They were all rusty and corroded and whatever. So, and I unscrewed both the nuts, and I mean, I pounded it with a hammer. I put it in a press. I did basically anything that you would do, you know, heated it up, whatever. And I just could not get the axle cup out of the hub. So, and these spindles and the hubs, I think you could find the hubs, but the spindles themselves, and the axle cups and everything, basically all-wheel drive specific, for the rear especially, is just, it's almost impossible to find. So I don't want to ruin his spindle and hub. I think there's a way to take apart the axle to where if it doesn't come out, you would only need just the axle cup. Just the little end cup on the axle, the part that actually goes through the hub, and the actual hub itself, which, like I said, the hub you can find, but that axle cup is basically, you're looking for a used one, but used ones around here at least are going to be mostly in this same condition, so it's difficult. Alright guys, so we got all the control arms off of the GST suspension. Now I believe all of these are the same except for this one here, which actually is the same, but this bushing is just a little different. I don't remember which side, but one of these sides is a little bit longer, like half an inch. So on my car, I just ended up adding in a little spacer, just shoveling in there, and I use the GST control arm and the GST bushing. But I believe for this one we should have the right bushings, since I bought the whole control arm bushing kit and it says it's meant for GSX. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So now I gotta replace all these bushings. I gotta replace the bushings in the GSX spindles, and I think after that we'll be ready to kind of bolt this thing together a little bit more. So as you've seen, I just completed the timing job on the engine out of the red car. That is the engine that's going to be going back in it. The only thing we have to do now is, you saw I took the transmission off. Now I got to put the all-wheel drive transmission onto that engine that came out of the GSX, obviously. And then we'll be ready to put the engine and transmission back in that, the red Eclipse. For now, I'm just going to leave this engine essentially untouched performance-wise. So I'm going to leave the turbo that's on it. I'm going to leave all that on it. The fuel rail, fuel injectors, I'm not touching any of that. So I'm just going to put this into the car. And then eventually down the line, he wants to bring it back for some performance upgrades. But for right now, we just want to get this thing running and driving. And get the body work done on it so he can get it wrapped, whatever he wants to do with that. Next step is I got to throw the all-wheel drive flywheel and clutch onto this engine, and then we put the transmission on it. And then it's ready to go in. Alright, so this is where part 2 of the all-wheel drive swap on the DSM is going to end. So as you've seen, we prepped basically everything ready to go back in. So we swapped the all-wheel drive trans onto the motor. We got all the bushings swapped out and all the control arms in the rear as much as we could. We got the subframe coated up. Basically, it's all ready to go in. We got that rear bracket welded in there, but everything is ready to be installed. So yeah, next video we're going to be putting everything in it, and hopefully we'll get start up and see if it moves at least a little bit.